Are you one bad week away from chaos? Not because you lack talented people, but because everything lives in your head. I've been there. The strategy, the priorities, the decisions, the context. When you're unavailable, traveling or sick or just having a hard month, the whole operation stalls. My guest today on Strategy Talks has spent years doing one thing, pulling all of that invisible knowledge out of founders' heads and building it into systems that run without them. Her name is Yvonne Heimann, and she sees systems where others see chaos. This is Strategy Talks. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Dorien Morin-van Dam.
Hello, everybody. I'm back with another episode of Strategy Talk. We're live another Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm very excited to be here with my friend Yvonne. Now, before I bring her up on the stage with me and you get to know her as well, I want to welcome all of those who are here on Facebook, watching live, or LinkedIn or YouTube. I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here live. As always, we're here live, so you can ask questions and we will answer them. So if you listen to Strategy Talks as a podcast and you happen to listen to this episode, I want you to know we appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. We've gotten quite a few new listeners lately, so I want to make sure that you know you're appreciated. So now I'm going to bring up on the stage with me my friend Yvonne. How are you?
Doing well, staying dry. I'm in Texas now, and suddenly I'm in the middle of rain season. So I'm trying to stay dry and not go down under.
All right. Well, that's good. And I want to say something. This is really funny. Yvonne is the one guest in 5 years who showed up 10 minutes early on purpose. So this is
German. It's the German. If you are on time, you're 5 minutes late.
I was going to say, between the Dutch and the German, this is how we do it. So we had a really lovely conversation in the green room, and now we're ready to talk about how visibility systems help provide consistency in small teams. And Yvonne, before I even go to any of my questions, I just asked you, are you still doing ClickUp? Because a lot of us that do know you know that that's how you really got that, how you got to be known, really, if we use that word, right? I really think it is. So you're still using that as a tool when you work with your clients, correct?
Correct. I am still deep within the ClickUp atmosphere. As you mentioned, it's like I've been doing it. Oh my God, we're coming up on an anniversary since 2018. I just had stumbled across them when I was mad with another project management tool. And ever since, deeply involved, if that is on the marketing side of things, if that is with the development team, I pretty much have my fingers in any department with ClickUp at this point. But also on the other hand, so I don't just create content for and with ClickUp. I teach ClickUp. I speak on ClickUp. It's our tool of choice. There's a lot of tools out there. For me, it's just the tool that is so versatile that I can build it in a way that speaks to the human, right? Because I can build you the perfect system. If the team doesn't use it,
right,
it doesn't do nothing, right? And yeah, that's the advantage and the downfall of ClickUp. It is so versatile. So if you don't know your systems, you will not be happy in ClickUp.
No, that's awesome. Well, it's good to know. And I've used just about every tool, and I know we talked about that in the room. You have as well, right? And I usually go to a client and see what they're using. I'm in content management, so I'm like, what do you use for content management? And sometimes it's Google Drive, or right now I'm working with a big client in Asana, or I've done Basecamp. I've done all these different Notion, all these different places, and I usually go with what they have initially to not disturb them. And then we'll go and see, hey, we need improvements here and there. So I totally get that. So let's talk about when you work with a founder, you know, and most founders, when you ask them, they can describe what their team does. Very few can describe how decisions get made when they're not in the room. And that, what is missing when that happens? And why don't people notice this until something breaks? And I'm going to preface it this with, I'm working with a client who was really busy in Q1, and we did a retrospective, and he said, this was so fun because I was busy doing stuff and I was speaking, I would come back and all I had to do was sign a bunch of contracts because his team was out there selling and all he had to do was sign a contract. So he did it. He's doing it right. But what's happening when a founder says, hey, you know, when I'm not in the room, things go wrong?
So I might actually challenge you on that. Now, I don't know the client. I don't know the behind the scenes, right? I have worked with founders and companies where, yes, the founder could leave and they came back and things were done and just handed off to them. The problem there was, yes, if the systems are in place, awesome, sweet. That's exactly what we want, right? We want the business to not be reliant on you. However, we also don't want the business reliant on any specific person in your business. So if said founder has a perfect assistant that knows everything in and out, and she is picking up the slack or he is picking up the slack, things still get done. But if that person falls out of the system, now suddenly everything goes up into flames. And that's how you can go down the hierarchy. So unfortunately, I'm hoping your client got it all done and he was all happy and they were all hunky-dory because the systems are in place. But unfortunately,
Right.
I have seen this to work without the systems in place. And there's the problem, right? The founder has found a way and has found the right team members that can pick up the slack and pretty much at that point read their mind because they've been in the business so long that they can pick up the slack when they are not there. But what happens if that person is missing? And that's where the pain point comes in. So it's not a business if it's not self-sustainable. The business on its own needs to be self-sustainable, which means knowledge needs to be readily accessible by everybody. So that's one of the big pieces. We've talked about the versatility of ClickUp, right? Everybody that has seen me speak knows status versus stages and ClickUp is a button. Now, I'm not going to bore your audience on the differentiation. If you use ClickUp, look up my videos. I think I have at this point 5 on it. There is a way where we need to be able to transfer knowledge between, number one, the founder and the team. What needs to happen? Why does it need to happen? How does it need to happen? There is setups where we need to make sure people can switch in departments or even jobs. It doesn't matter the size. If it is a huge company with hundreds of employees, people need to be able to switch from leasing to architecture. As you can tell, I'm working with a management company right now. But also even in a small team, right? I personally have a team of 6 at this point. We are an agile team. We help each other. We jump in. We need to be able to understand the tasks that somebody else is assigned to in case they get sick or something happens. One of my clients, their project manager on the fly had to leave last evening for a family emergency. We need to be able to pick up for them and keep the business going without there being disruption. And that's where that transfer of knowledge is, and as well as simple systems. I've seen so many project managers, so many ClickUp builders that make it way too difficult. And they just focus on how can I automate it? How can I do it? And they forget about the human in the process. And now I have this shiny thing that nobody uses or knows how to use. And we are in the same problem.
So I love that you talked about knowledge base and knowledge transfer. So let's just dive in that as a side note before I get to the next question. So what does that really mean? Are you referring to SOPs? Are you referring to having video documenting every single thing that's done within the company, or a little bit of that? Let's talk about it.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
If you are listening to the podcast right now, I promise you have even more fun seeing my faces on the video. So you might want to jump over to the YouTube and watch it there. If you're listening, I was just waving behind the scenes because it is both. And yes, standard operating procedures. I'm sorry. I know you probably hate them. Nobody wants to create them. And I'm going to tell you in a second how you can do that really simple. But you need them. You need them. And you do not want to be so detailed that you create a company handbook with 5,000 pages that nobody ever reads and you are just micromanaging people. You don't want to create a team that needs to be micromanaged. You still want them to be able to think on their feet, to be able to adjust, to be agile, right?
Right.
So how do we do this? Because over here too, I hate writing SOPs. I feel you on that one. However, you put a camera in my face and I don't shut up. So we use a tool called Whale SOPs. That is my favorite tool, bar none. They have done amazing in their programming. And again, it's versatile, right? If you are somebody that loves to write romance novels and just wants to type out their SOPs, go for it. Me, I walk through my process. I get a call from my assistant of, hey, we finally need to get the SOP for this done. I'm like, yeah, I know, sorry, let me jump in there. And I really just jump in and I talk to the screen and I walk through as if I have a 5-year-old sitting next to me, meaning they don't know what I'm doing. They have never been exposed to this before. And I explain it in a way even to say, hey, now go top right on this little icon right there and click that. So I also talk through exactly what I'm doing on the screen, not just click over there. You'd want to be specific. The more specific we are, the better the output is, right? Just like we've learned with AI.
Right.
Crappy input, crappy output. The more specific we can be, the better it is. And I just talk through exactly the things I'm doing. And if there is something coming up where I'm like, oh yeah, we continuously have a problem here with the tool or in the process, pay attention to this.
Okay.
Or hey, we want to make sure this is in this way. I talk through this whole thing and I literally just grab that video and upload it into Whale. That's it. I don't even have to, some tools, right, you need to go through and it takes the screenshots while you are clicking on things and you don't get everything. I literally just take the video and upload it. And what it then does is I have my full video on top where you can walk through the full process and you see everything. And thank God for 1.5 speed. And then it creates the steps underneath. It pulls the screenshots from it where I'm clicking on things. It gives it a short description. The AI programming behind it is amazing. It pulls all of it out and I can just record a video.
All right. So can you spell the name of the tool?
It's literally like Whale, WHALE. So when you Google Whale SOP, you'll find them.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think lots of people want this and want a tool like this. I know somebody who needs this. And then my second question is, and this is something I've struggled with, who owns the SOPs and where do they live? Because I think that it's a thing within a company. You know, I've come into companies that don't have any SOPs and I'm like, I'm reinventing the wheel here. I can see what somebody else did, but there's no standard operating procedure. Do you want me to create it? And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, can you own it? I'm like, well, I'm an outside contractor. It needs to live somewhere. Should it live on your Google Drive? Should it live in your ClickUp? Should it live in both? Like, I want to know what is the best place to do this. Again, to have, if I step away or you fire me or you say, I want a new contractor, somebody has to own this and it has to live somewhere. And I think this is one of the biggest problems, not even creating the SOPs or haven't taken the time to create them, but then how does the system start working? How do the gears work together? And I see you nodding. For those who are listening, Yvonne's going, yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, with clients, we take SOPs even further.
Okay.
So right now, as of right now, I am working with Whale and ClickUp to actually have a full integration, because ClickUp has ClickUp Brain, as well as we have Claude and ChatGPT available, right? But specifically with ClickUp Brain, it has been programmed to focus on ClickUp itself and the connected tools. Unfortunately, we don't have Whale natively integrated yet. However, Whale has a cute little site thingy app in Chrome to be like, hey,
like an extension.
Is this the SOP you're looking for? Now we go really, really hard with the knowledge and the resources when it comes to SOPs, because we also build a lot of automations. We build external automations with Make. We build internal automations in ClickUp. We build AI agents within ClickUp. We write SOPs, we write wikis, we build templates. There is a lot managing there, right? So when it goes this big, and I'm preferencing this, you don't have to do all of this. But when it becomes this big and you are talking, you do want to start organizing things like that at the level of 4 to 5 employees, because the time that even I'm the one building the automation, even I have spent figuring out where the heck I automated something, because it's an automation on top of an automation. The time wasted is not worth it. So what we do is we have an HQ in ClickUp. It's a space specifically for the company that houses a lot of this knowledge. That's where we have a list that just generally gives us the big SOP, right? Podcast production, social media content, just the big idea of it that then links straight up into Whale. We also have a list for our internal automations that happen in ClickUp, for our make.com automations, and we even have naming conventions for those automations, because they build on top of it and they are in the pieces of certain processes, right? Now, I know anybody that runs a small team is like, holy, how am I even, what, when? Even in our company, I've been running this company on ClickUp now since 2018. 2026 has been our year of cleaning up our own company. You don't have to do it all right away. You don't have to do it all right now, but pay attention to it. It is really the make or break of you, number one, being able to step away from the business, of your business being able to be self-sufficient. I've lived through losing my husband to cancer and having to put my business on hold for 2 years because I didn't have the resources for somebody else to be able to run my business. Yep. I don't want anybody else to be in a situation to hope for donations, to hope for their landlord not kicking them out and being okay of not paying 2 years worth of rent. We live in the States, right? If your business goes to fail, that's your income.
Yeah.
Your business has to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So again, you don't have to go as crazy as we go with big clients, but you need to start at least with standard operating procedures. Your processes cannot run in your head only. And not just to be self-sufficient. People assume. It's my favorite example for assumption and what people hear is, think of a color red. Now, if you're watching this live or on video in the recording, you see the live stream on the bottom right, left, right.
Right, yeah.
Chances are, because that's the red right in front of you right now, that's the shade of red you are thinking about. But you know what? I love Dorien's lipstick. That's the shade of red I'm thinking about. Now, if I tell you think about red, chances are anybody is going to think about a different shade of red. That's the same thing that happens with your work if you do not set certain boundaries and expectations. We had a big breakdown in my own company, and I'm the one teaching systems, right? Because I had not determined on a project what done means.
That's a big one. What does it mean to be done?
What does that even mean? Does that mean this one page of the website or all 10 of them? What is done? Yeah. When is it done? How is it done?
Yeah.
And that is a lot of budget loss, because your team is losing a ton of hours. You can't deliver as you promised because now you're suddenly backlogged.
Yeah.
If you don't have your processes and systems in place, if you don't have your standard operating procedures in place, your team is assuming.
Right.
You can't do that.
No.
It's
so let me ask you straight out. Where do your team's SOPs live? In Google or in Asana or somewhere else?
in Whale.
In
Whale.
They live in Whale. Okay, that's interesting.
In Whale directly.
Okay.
We are working also on having the main processes as a list of our SOPs within ClickUp.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask me about ownership of those processes, right?
Yes.
The one running it. My team specifically, and I do this with clients too, is they have certain boundaries. So they get a little box.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go far out there, you go far out there, but the box is nice and big that they can play in. Because again, I don't want to micromanage them. I want to have a team that can think on their feet, that can adjust, because let's be honest, ClickUp, for example, has changed 5,000 times over the last month alone. I need them to be able to think, right? So I build a certain box, and within that box, do you want to write your SOP? Cool. Do you want to record your video? That's fine. I don't care how, but the processes you are running, you own them from front to back. Meaning, you want to make the process better, you want to automate some of the processes, fine, give me the ideas. We have check-ins 3 times a week of what did we learn, what can we automate, what do you not want to do anymore? I literally ask my team, what are you fucking tired of doing every single time?
Right.
And I didn't even ask if your podcast is explicit. Beep. we are auditing that out. I get passionate about this, right? And you know me, Yvi likes to drop an F-bomb once in a while. Yeah. They get to own this. This is their process. This is their work. And they're also humans. I have things I don't want to do. Yeah, some of them I have to. But you know what? I really don't want to create the tasks for my podcast, for the team to take care of it every single time.
Well, that makes sense.
No. Assign them. Set the due dates based on when I want the episode released. No.
You do it. You take care of it. No, I love that. I love that. I have a question, and this is a very practical thing, and you take a drink of water. For somebody who's watching, and this is something that has come up client after client after client. I usually come in and, content marketing, content strategy, I pull together, hey, we don't have SOPs, we don't have a strategy, we don't have a system, we don't have a right tool.
You potentially don't even have the branding assets and a brand book down.
Sometimes we do, but I'm trying to connect them all. Yep. Here's where I would like some help. And I think that somebody who's watching or listening might also want to see if you have some ideas. You talked about naming convention, and I'm asking to see if you maybe have a resource or a way that makes it easier. Right now, I'm in the middle of the UTM naming convention nightmare, which is not really a nightmare, but you got to figure it out, and your whole team has to know, and then you got to inform everybody, and everybody's going to take their own slice on, if you produce this content, you own a naming convention for the UTMs for this. But anyway,
no.
Okay.
Don't do that. I'm like, we are not going that far. That's where the boundary comes in.
Okay.
So I don't have a strict naming convention that I would say is across the board applicable on all of my clients and my own stuff. However, once we decide a naming convention, that's it. You don't just decide on your own naming convention, because that's, again, we want to be able to cross use, right? Keep it simple. The less brain cells we need to use to understand something, the faster people are going to work. So UTM specific, Amanda Robinson, that woman has her UTM naming down from the campaigns to the asset to the whole 9 yards. She is the perfect one to figure out the UTM naming convention, because I don't know everything that's going on in ads and all the things. That woman has the UTM naming down. For us specifically, it comes down to the project pretty much. And the project can be building them all. The project can be creating a podcast. The project can be whatever. And then what we look at is pretty much, I always think of boxes or folders. If you're on Windows, you see your folders, right? You have the big project of, for example, my podcast. So that's the main podcast. And in our naming convention, specifically for social media content or blog post content or anything, I need to pay attention to SEO, because the chances are that the images are being used on the blog too. And I want to trigger it based on specific keywords, meaning the title of the podcast. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that feeds into specifically when it comes to creating things that are for social media, that are for blog posts, that are anything, right? Because we want to make it really easy to hit those target keywords in the meta description, in the image alt title, and all of those. So what we have done specifically when it comes to content creation is I actually automated the whole thing. We have optimized titles, right? Before all of this is generated, we already went through and we optimized titles based on which target keyword we want to go for. So our task title has a specific name. With that, because naming conventions is always a problem with the team, right? I built an automation. The team does not upload the images, meaning the square, the story image, and the thumbnail, anywhere else. They're uploaded to a form that I built. That form triggers an automation that now routes the images to Google Drive and ClickUp, but also renames them based on the episode title, the episode number, and what it is. So in our graphics specifically, SEO optimized title, because the task title is already there. I have already cleaned that one up. So it's the full-on title in there. With, is it the story, is it the square, or is it the thumbnail at the end, and the episode number. And then automatically it's getting routed based on the episode into our file structure that, again, has also been sorted out by podcast, by year, by episode number, with subfolders for each episode. In other situations, we have, again, based on the process we are running, potentially different naming structures where I need to be able to determine a certain entity and which location. Right. And then what specifically is this? So there is no one shoe fits all. But it always follows kind of like the same framework of what's the big project.
Well, and it needs to be, right? Because here I am creating content, and I might need it for social media, but somebody else needs to grab the same image to put it in an email, right? So that's the problem that we're trying to solve with the naming convention of, the project manager needs access. I might put it in the folder. She needs to know where it is in the folder, and then they might make something, and then there's an executive assistant who downloads something. And so we need everybody to figure out how it works. And so that makes sense. Kind of what you're saying is to automate it, but have all the names kind of triggered together. I know we're like at the end. I can't believe it. I'm going to have another question for you. And we'll close it out with this, because we went deep in practical stuff, which I love. Today, this was very practical information. If somebody came to you tonight and said, I have a team of 4, small team, and nothing is documented, what do I build first? What's the one thing, if it existed, that you would immediately create more consistency without overwhelming the team? What's the one thing you would tell them to do if they said we have nothing documented? Sherry does this, and Sally does this, and Emma does this, and Doreen does that, and we don't know what each other are doing. Nothing is documented, no SOPs. Go. What do you tell them?
Your Moneymaker. That is the one process you start with, your Moneymaker. You can always make things happen and scoot by with other things, but the one process that is making you money in your business is the one that needs to be documented. It is the one that costs you the most money when things fall through the crack. It's the process that loses you clients, that loses you income, that makes you look not how you want to look. So if you need to decide on one process that you start recording, it's your Moneymaker.
All right. That was an easy question. That was a way easier answer than I thought it was going to be. That's awesome. So we're at the end. We're 30 minutes in, which is amazing. Yvonne, how can people connect with you? Where are you most active on social media? And if you have any resources, you can name them, but I'll make sure to also put them in the show notes afterwards. But where can people meet you?
So the nice thing actually is I have a workbook for the Moneymaker. So you can start mapping that out, get that as a freebie. I'll send you the link to make sure everybody can grab that to make that easier. And yeah, I'm online pretty much anywhere and everywhere at askyvi.com. That's ASKYVI.com. Talking systems, talking processes, nerding out on ClickUp. All the fun stuff that everybody else doesn't seem to be finding that fun.
I know. It's just funny how some people, everybody's got a different strength, right? I'm very creative and I used to just really resist systems, but now I love them. And I used to resist having to, report on data. And now I'm geeking out on data every day. I go and look on my, AI search data and my podcast data. And now I love it. But, it takes a little while to get used to it. So if you're sitting here and listening or watching and you're like, oh, systems, there's hope, because once you see it and once you get it and you've got somebody explaining it to you and you see the results of you having systems, that's really what you need. You need to see the system working and then you'll never want to go back. So, Yvi, thank you so much for being with me tonight. Thank you so much for those of you who are watching and listening. I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks, and I'll make sure to put all the information in the show notes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.